The morning sun filtered softly through the living room curtains, casting long and dancing shadows across the floorboards. It was the kind of quiet morning that invited reflection, but for the young man standing in the center of the room, there was a pressing matter at hand. He looked toward the armchair where his father sat, or rather, where his father appeared to be drifting into a peaceful slumber. The son stepped closer, his voice filled with a mix of urgency and the typical exasperation of youth. He called out, asking if his father could hear him, noting that he needed help with something very quickly. The father, whose name was Bill, let out a soft sound that could have been a groan or a sigh of acknowledgement. The son was not fooled. He told his father that he could not simply answer him and then pretend to be asleep immediately after. Bill shifted in his chair, his eyes cracking open just a fraction. He asked what it was that his son needed. The young man began to explain, but Bill seemed ready to drift off again. In a clever move, the son remarked that it was fine, and that he guessed he would not tell his father about the delicious ham. The word ham acted like a magical incantation. Bill was suddenly very much awake. He repeated the word with a glimmer of hunger in his eyes, but the son quickly retracted the offer, stating there was no ham. He steered the conversation back to the heart of the matter. He was trying to figure out what to get his mother for the upcoming Mother Day. He confessed that in the previous year, he had only given her some simple flowers, which he now felt were quite inadequate. This year, he wanted to give her something truly nice, something that showed he had put thought into the gesture. Bill leaned back, offering a piece of fatherly wisdom that was as unconventional as it was humorous. He warned his son that he was heading down a dangerous gift path. According to Bill, the secret to a long and happy life of gift-giving was to set the bar low. The son misunderstood at first, thinking his father meant to start small and then get something a tiny bit nicer every year. But Bill corrected him with a mischievous smile. He explained that the goal was to set the bar low and leave it there forever. He shared his own tradition with his own mother. Every year, he would show up at her place bright and early with a gift that featured his own face. He listed the treasures he had bestowed upon her over the years: a Bill t-shirt, a Bill coffee mug, and something he proudly called a billow. The son guessed correctly that a billow was a pillow with his father's face on it. Bill nodded with immense satisfaction, adding that this year, his mother was getting a toasty Bill blanket to go with it. The son marveled at how his father could sleep at night with such a narcissistic approach to gifting. Bill simply patted his chest and remarked that his head rested easy on his billow, adding that they were actually cheaper if you bought two at a time. This humorous exchange set the tone for the family dynamics, where love was expressed through laughter and quirky traditions. Meanwhile, in another part of the house, the women of the family were preparing for a much more elegant affair. Judy was speaking on the telephone, her voice filled with excitement as she spoke to her mother. She confirmed that she would see her on Saturday and expressed how much she loved her. Bill approached, and Judy told him how much her mother was looking forward to Mother Day at the Palm Court. Bill knew the routine well, referring to it as that tea thing they did every year. Judy corrected him, emphasizing that it was not just tea, but high tea. To Judy, this was a sacred rite of passage. She recalled how she knew her own mother finally viewed her as a woman when she was invited to her first high tea. This year was especially significant because they were bringing Lauren, Judy's daughter, for the very first time. Lauren, however, did not seem to share the same level of enthusiasm. When Judy described the event as getting dressed up with flowers and candles, Lauren remarked that it sounded like a more boring version of church. Judy laughed it off, insisting it was a beautiful tradition. Bill, ever the joker, asked if he could be counted in for high tea. Judy reminded him that it was strictly for the girls. Bill joked about the purple dress Judy had once caught him in, claiming he was in a play. The playful banter between husband and wife showed a deep bond, even if they had very different ideas of how to spend a Saturday afternoon. The piece was interrupted by the arrival of Bill's mother, Louise. She entered the house without calling ahead, much to Bill's feigned dismay. Louise announced that she wanted to spend Mother Day with her Billy boy instead of making him get her a silly gift. When asked about her husband Johnny, Louise explained that she was not Johnny's mother, though she made a humorous remark about his occasional exclamations. Johnny was in St. Louis visiting his own mother, a woman Louise clearly did not get along with. She described the other woman as manipulative and lacking boundaries, claiming that spending time with her sucked away a little bit of the soul every day. Louise then pivoted to her own needs, reminding Bill of the long hours of labor she endured to bring him into the world. To avoid a detailed recount of his birth, Bill suggested that they do something fancy. He mentioned the high tea at the Palm Court, knowing full well that Judy and the other women were already going. Louise was delighted by the idea, having always dreamed of going to the Palm Court. She thought it was incredibly classy and mentioned she would have to take her Beano. Before Bill could explain the logistics, Louise was already on the phone with Judy, announcing the big news. Judy was caught off guard in the kitchen. She pulled Bill aside, frustrated that he was trying to unload his mother on their special day. Judy feared that Louise would take over the whole event and make it all about herself, ruining Lauren's first experience of the tradition. The situation grew more complicated when Louise revealed she had already called the Palm Court and arranged for a bigger table, though it would have to be at 9 o'clock in the morning. She even suggested they all drive out to Joliet afterward to see the house where she grew up. Judy tried to explain that this was a Michael family tradition, but Louise played the guilt card perfectly, lamenting that she would be the only woman in the family not invited. The tension in the house was palpable, a mix of old grievances and the desire to create new memories. As the days went by, the household became a whirlwind of activity. Bill's mother stayed over, leading to more comedic friction. Helen, Judy's mother, arrived as well. The two grandmothers had very different personalities. Helen was more reserved, while Louise was a force of nature. There were jokes about the smell of cats and the necessity of screwdrivers, the alcoholic kind. Early in the morning, Nina, another family member, joined the fray, bringing her own unique energy. The house was full of voices, laughter, and the occasional sharp remark, all centered around the upcoming celebration of motherhood. A new conflict arose when Louise, feeling excluded from the tea, decided to start her own tradition. She offered Lauren a $100 gift card to go outlet shopping with her instead of attending the high tea. Lauren, being a teenager, was immediately sold on the idea, calling it the best tradition ever. Judy was horrified. She insisted that Lauren was coming to the tea, but the argument over what constituted a tradition escalated. Bill tried to intervene, but the voices only grew louder. In the heat of the moment, a kitchen accident occurred. While preparing food, Judy turned around with a knife in her hand and accidentally grazed Louise's arm. The scene shifted to the hospital, where the family waited for news. The injury was minor, requiring only a few stitches, but Louise was determined to make the most of it. Bill joked that his wife had finally done what they had all thought about doing, though he knew it was a total accident. When the doctor appeared, Louise introduced Judy as the lovely daughter-in-law who stabbed her. The doctor handed Judy a pamphlet on managing rage, which only added to Judy's frustration. Louise played the role of the victim to perfection, claiming she could no longer wash her hair or even pull up her own tights without help. On the day of the tea, Judy was exhausted. She had spent the night caring for Louise, who continued to milk the injury for all it was worth. Even as they arrived at the elegant Drake Hotel, where the Palm Court was located, the shadow of the accident loomed over them. Judy tried to stay positive for Lauren's sake, but she felt a heavy weight of guilt. She eventually decided to put Louise out of her mind and focus on having a wonderful time. They sat at their beautiful table, surrounded by fine china and the scent of expensive tea. However, the peace was short-lived. Bill and Louise appeared at the same hotel. It turned out that Louise had insisted on coming to the Drake as well. In a moment of chaotic movement near the stairs, Louise took a tumble. Fortunately, she was not seriously hurt, but the incident led to a profound realization for Judy. As she spoke with Lauren, she realized that she had been using guilt to pressure her daughter into attending the tea, much like Louise used guilt to get her way. Judy saw a reflection of her own mother-in-law in herself, and she did not want to be that kind of mother. In a quiet moment at the hospital afterward, Judy and Louise finally shared a heart-to-heart conversation. Judy apologized sincerely, admitting that she sometimes had a short fuse because she saw a part of herself in Louise. Louise, in a rare moment of vulnerability, confessed that she was only so persistent because she felt a little jealous of the time Judy spent with her own mother. She expressed that she thought of Judy as her own daughter. They embraced, finding a common ground in their shared strength and their deep love for their children. The story concluded with a touch of the characteristic humor that defined the family. Even in the hospital, Louise managed to find a group of people to charm, declaring it the best Mother Day ever because she found a table that felt more alive. The family had navigated the ups and downs of the holiday, learning that while traditions are important, the most valuable gift is the understanding and forgiveness that keeps a family together. They walked out of the hospital, not as a perfect family, but as a real one, ready to face the next year with a little more grace and a lot more laughter.